Hi, I want to share with you one of the most authentic, strategic ways to grow your followers on LinkedIn. We know LinkedIn is like going to a conference, it's your resume on steroids and all of those aspects that I've talked about before. But did you know when somebody gives you a recommendation on LinkedIn, when you approve it, it goes to all of their connections. So there are many of us who have 500 plus connections on LinkedIn. I have, I think, 4,000 or 6,000 on LinkedIn connections. And what happens is when we connect with each other, it goes out to my followers. But if I give you a recommendation and you approve it, that too goes out to my followers. So that's strategic. And that gives you a recommendation on steroids. I always say that LinkedIn is like going to a conference. Now imagine going to that conference and your name badge talks about who you are. Well, your LinkedIn profile is the same thing. But now imagine walking through that conference with someone who has thousands and thousands of connections at that conference, and they're talking about how great you are. Well, that's what a recommendation is like. All of a sudden, you're not just by yourself at this conference called LinkedIn. You're being recommended by somebody who you've chosen to recommend you. So how do you even do that, and what happens? Well, let me show you. So what happens when someone recommends you is it ends up, like I said, going out to all of their followers, which is very cool, but it ends up on your LinkedIn profile. So this is why I always say it's like a resume on steroids. So here I have one pending recommendation. So it doesn't go live until you approve it. And once I approve it, it goes out to, in this case, all of Leslie Scott's followers, connections, and all of mine that Leslie not endorsed me. These are not endorsements. These are recommendations. Very different, and I prefer recommendations. So I've been involved with Sophie since the start of my company. She was the chair of the Bears Laird competition that they won in 2015. Passionate supporter of our startups, and trained me and my staff on social media. She takes a personal interest in other success. Oh my gosh, of course I'm going to say yes. Generally donates her time and oh, thank you. And she does not see negativity, which I do not, and no time for that. And she solutions and opportunities in everything that we do. This comes through her inspiring public speaking, and fortunate to have her have this stellar human being be part of my community. Aw, thank you, sweetheart. So anyways, I could ask for a revision if there was something in it that we did together that I'd like her to add, and it would just go privately back to her, as this right now is privately to me. So instead I'm going to add to profile. So now that this has been added to profile, it's now going out to, it's on my profile, as you can see, there it is. But it's also gone out as a post by me out to my connections, and also to Leslie's connections that she's in. How do you even ask for a recommendation? So how you ask for a recommendation is one of two ways. One, you can go to someone's profile. Here's someone that I respect immensely. So I can go to his profile and I can click on more, and here request a recommendation. So if I was going to do that, all I'm going to do is request recommendation. Nobody knows you're requesting the recommendation at the time. So I can just say request recommendation. Which company are you talking about? Send next. And now he has I've sent him an email. So how do you give a recommendation? Let me just show you. Again, find the person you'd like to recommend. And right here, click on recommend. It's that simple. Now I've clicked on recommend. I'm going to indicate, it's hard to say with Stuart because there's so many different groups that we've worked on together. He's been a client. I mean, I respect this man so much. So I'm going to just say as a client, and I'm going to indicate what position he was at the time. Next, at this point, you write your recommendation here. So I have the recommendation already written here ahead of time because I wanted to think this out perfectly for him. So you create it, and you can see what I've written. Stuart's the definition of gentleman and a business development networker. When I first met Stuart, I was first launching my digital marketing practice back in 2002. He introduced me to national, provincial, and local communities of interest who would need interest, glad I'm reading this, who would need my services then and still do this day. I see him continuously helping other business professionals in the same way. Since then, we've been working with chambers of commerce and leaders across North America. I attend their annual conferences where I get to see Stuart amongst his peers. As a leader amongst his peers, I'm very proud to know him, and I always use what he's doing in his chamber as an example to other chambers, because they're always leading the way. Recently I've become a member of Stuart's Chamber of Board of Directors, and I get to see Stuart, not Start, Stuart. I always like, for myself, because I'm always trying to do things too quickly, I read things out loud, and that helps me catch everything that I need to catch before I send it. Well, mostly. So I get to see Stuart in an entirely different role. My respect for his chamber governance and team leadership is now unparalleled. I thank you, Stuart, for what you do. So there you go. So now I can send this. This will go out to Stuart. It won't be public until he approves it. And then if he approves it, it will go out to my connections, and he obviously has 500 plus connections as well, and it will go out to his. So very cool. So that's all there is to it. I recommend you try that. And this tip was just about how to give and receive recommendations. I gave, how to receive. I gave one to Leslie the other day, so it would be on hers now that I think about it. So let's go take a look. Gave one to Leslie, and I'm pretty sure she approved it. She's just trying to get herself on LinkedIn. So you can see when you have under 500 connections, it shows you the numbers. So I encourage you to connect with Leslie. You won't up and coming company, not anymore, beyond an up and coming. She's grown this company from her barn to internationally. It's very exciting. Walton Wood Farms. So if you scroll down on you'll notice there it is. The recommendation I gave to her is now public on her LinkedIn profile. So that's all there is to it. Hope you get something from this video tutorial.